Tonight, in a coast-to-coast link-up, live from the Grand Hall of Sydney Centrepoint, Channel 9 presents 25 Years of Television. The 9 Network Australia welcomes you and our 500 special guests to this historic celebration. Your host, Bert Newton.
Thank you. Well, good evening and welcome. Last May I had the great honour of working on the Royal Charity Concert in front of royalty. This evening I worked the royalty of television. I'd like to welcome all the kings and queens of television. I might mention to you before the show, Mr. Kerry Packer, oh, damn it. Kez and I were talking about this evening's performance. I think you'll enjoy yourselves. The food is good, the wine is French. We've worked it out to about $30 a head, which I think is fair. For Mr. Packer, I have some great news. Just recently, he may have considered perhaps there was some sad news concerning Arthur Buttrose. The good news is that Kate and Ben are joining Women's Day. I might mention, unfortunately, Rupert Murdoch cannot be here this evening, unfortunately. At the moment he's in Rome, negotiating with the Pope to buy the Bible. What he doesn't realise, of course, is that Kerry wrote it. Or should I say, Keza. At this stage, welcome to relay stations right throughout Australia, particularly the relay stations seen in the Channel 7 and Channel 10 boardrooms. You know, tonight is not just a television show. It's many things. It's a celebration, an acknowledgement, and a reunion. It's a celebration to mark and to look back over 25 years of television in Australia. It's an acknowledgement to thousands of people who in that time have contributed to Channel 9, which set out all those years ago on a path that nobody in Australia had embarked on before. Of course, we had the other networks to keep us company. So it's not only Channel 9's celebration, but a celebration for the whole industry. Perhaps most importantly for me, and for so many of you here this evening, it's a chance to have a reunion. This industry, television, requires many talents, many separate and sometimes indefinable qualities. Television is not just what you see on your set at home. It's a mass of people from many areas of expertise combining to bring a finished product to your screen. And like any great and successful industry, the people working in it today in 1981, whether they're a cameraman, a producer, a lighting man, a sound man, stagehand, director, actor, or performer, they're here not only because of their ability, they're able to be here as a result of their predecessors. In this case, the pioneers of Australian television. Tonight, we want to remember, we want to smile, laugh, reminisce, and amid the sophistication of the 80s, look back on the good old days. The cop shows and the pop shows, kid shows and quiz shows, the news and reviews, the top shows and the flop shows. But this reunion is not just for us alone here at Centrepoint. Indeed, the warmest invitation of all is to you. Now, wherever you may be in Australia, welcome. And I hope you enjoy the party, which really began back in 1956 here in Sydney. We're doing the show tonight from Sydney because it began here. A lot of water's flowed under the bridge, quite a bit of ink has been splashed on contracts since 1956. a completely new industry. It had to be built right from the ground up. Australia's first TV station, TCN9 in Sydney, was built at suburban Willoughby. As the vital transmitter was being erected at Willoughby, the new medium was providing some spectacular entertainment. Even before the first sets were sold, we had a captive audience who brought their own armchairs. Welcome, Sir Eric Pearce. Equipment was brought together as part of the timetable. It was a scramble, really, to get TCN9 on air. Today, some of that early equipment is so different from what's used today. By today's standards, it was very simple, even primitive, but it worked. As opening time drew closer, in came mysterious people such as producers and directors, and even some performers. As you'll note, in those early days, they had things known as rehearsals. It's a practice that may come back. By this time, you, the audience, of course, was warming up. You might recall how you'd crowd around shop windows looking at displays of TV sets on sale, studying, comparing those riveting test patterns we used to send out. ABC still does. For all of us, TV was a huge thrill, particularly in 1956, as I mentioned before, for Sir Eric Pearce, who in that year celebrated his 70th birthday. I don't know why, Eric, but I love your shirt. At 7 o'clock on the 16th of September 1956, Channel 9 Sydney was officially opened and began Australia's first regular daily TV programming. Bruce Gyngell, TV's first program manager, made the opening speech. In Melbourne, we chose a more vice-regal opening, with Managing Director, the late Colin Bednall, welcoming Victoria's very popular Governor, Sir Dallas Brooks and Lady Brooks.
But luckily, our problem is simple to solve. All you've got to do when you are watching or listening is to turn that little switch. And then, if you're not happy with what you're seeing, you don't like it, or it just frankly bores you, put the switch to off.
But not tonight, please. Before that formal opening ceremony in January 1957, Channel 9 Melbourne had already been showing programs regularly for 4 months. Its first on-air announcer is an old and very dear friend of mine and many people here this evening, Jeff Cork.
Test program from GTV Channel 9. My name is Jeff Cork, and at this moment I'm chatting to you from our transmitting station on the highest peak of Mount Dandenong in the beautiful Dandenong Ranges. This afternoon, we at GTV have a lineup of entertainment that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Excerpts from some of the films that we'll be featuring shortly, plus an entertaining Terry Toon cartoon, and our full-length feature for today, The Three Texas Steers, starring popular John Wayne.
Jeff Cork is with us this evening. I might mention to you The Three Texas Steers is our prime movie next Sunday evening at 8. You see, Jeff Cork was a former radio man, as was Bruce Gyngell. And it was from radio that TV got many of its earliest stars. A radio top-liner of those days was Bob Dyer. He was the first performer to produce visual radio. And here's a very historic piece of film showing him in action, pre-TV, in his radio show, Can You Take It?
Your penalty will be to wheel this pram with Rod Holmes along Pitt Street tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 from King to Market Street. If you do that, you will come back here next Monday and receive £50 for paying the penalty. Can you take it?
Yes.
He can take it! Just a moment. I'll have the baby say hello to the new nursemaid. Say hello to your new nursemaid.
Hello, Nancy.
For TV, the Bert and Patty of the 50s, Bob and Dolly, went to the USA to study the different techniques demanded by this new medium. The result? One of the longest-running quiz shows in Australian television history.
Folks, here's someone I want you to meet. Of course, you all know that there's been someone behind the scenes doing all the hard work in radio for many years. More years than anyone wants to say, really, right now, but I want you to meet her officially because you'll be seeing a lot of her in television. This is my gal, Doc.
I'll take the money.
I'll take the buck.
I'll take the buck.
I'll take the money.
And here's your host, Australia's tip-top quizmaster of ceremonies, Bob Pick-a-Box Dyer.
Bob, this is Mrs. Shirley Clark.
Hello, Shirley.
As you would realize, we're hoping to revive Pick-a-Box this year on the 9 network, moustache and all. I'm not too sure what I'll have to wear. In those early days, you know, new talent was popping up just about everywhere. In our audience this evening, we have another dear friend, Jimmy Hanlon. Now, Jimmy is also celebrating 25 years in television. He made his first appearance in a quiz show. As compere? No.
This is Mr. Jim Hannon of Darlinghurst, who last week successfully answered all 7 songs correctly and is back for the second round of the Melody Marathon on Name That Tune. Name That Tune is brought to you by the Australian Women's Weekly, the magazine for the whole family, bringing you news of fashion, films, and hints for the household. And here to tell you how to play the game is your master of ceremonies, Bruce Ginjo.
Good evening, and here's the way we play our game. First of all, we have with us Gus and the Quintet. So, Gus, the first song, If You Please.
Yes, again, it was Bruce Ginjo, who appears this evening, by the way, by courtesy of Il Globo. For those of you who don't read Il Globo, he does a marvelous column which he talks about Katrina and Benjamino. TV was launched and underway with quiz shows, dozens of them. And then, as now, one of its most popular features. From the Channel 9 archives, we're about to roll call some of our quiz shows and TV's earliest moments and earliest compares. But here's our first commercial break for this evening.
A few little drops of California poppy, a few little drops, that's all. It makes your scalp feel nice, it makes your hair look nice, it makes your head smell nice.
You'll find the girls look twice.
If you use Californian poppy.
I might say we looked for the earliest commercial ever in television. And we were going to show you the Beck's commercial. But unfortunately, it's been seen 9 times already this evening. You'll see more of that vintage later in the show. Meantime, we pause for the real thing, 1981 style. It was the one and only Jack Davy. To present this magnificent man, the Davy talent, no expense was spared.
The Pressure Pack Company, a division of the Samuel Taylor Organization, makers of famous Mortine, presents the Pressure Pack Show with Jack Davy.
It's Pressure Pack time and the Pressure Pack Show. When people try to find out what you and I know, just imagine you're here in the studio with Pressure Pack Jack and his own style, versatile, make you smile. Pressure Pack Show.
Yes, the Pressure Pack 1,000-pound show. And there he is, Pressure Pack Jack Davy. Hi, everybody.
just want you to relax.
I think it's fair for me to say, as someone who's worked in television in the 50s, 60s, 70s, now the 80s, you've got to say, because of ill health, the real Jack Davy brilliance never translated to the new medium. But I'd also like to say, for those people who can remember, given his health, Jack Davy would have been one of the greatest television stars Australia has ever seen. Another man to begin in radio quizzes is today one of the most successful independent producers in Australia, Mr. Reg Grundy.
TCN Channel 9 presents Australia's biggest, richest daytime quiz show, Reg Grundy's Wheel of Fortune. And now, here's Mr. Fortune himself, Reg Grundy.
Thank you very much, and welcome to another edition of the Wheel of Fortune. We have another tied score on our hands. We've had a lot of these since we started presenting the program 6 days a week, and I'd like you to meet both of the contestants in just a minute.
Reg Grundy. It's also marvellous to have Mr. Grundy back on one of his very few visits to Australia. Interesting thing is, 1981, we have American producers now coming over with tape recorders locked away in hotel rooms, taping what he's doing. In quiz shows, contestants usually win prizes. But the late George Foster, another great radio recruit, in his quiz show tried out a reverse formula. And I want you to pay particular attention to the lavish prizes.
The privately owned Four Square Stores present the Happy-Go-Lucky Show, starring George Foster.
Good afternoon, ladies. And welcome once again to the Happy-Go-Lucky Show. First round. Thank you, Elizabeth. Now, every round is the same. By that I mean that the first round is Culture Corner, and all questions will be more or less the same. Now, I'll give you a line from a famous poem, and you have to identify the poem, Mrs. Twistle. And the muscles of his brawny arms are as strong as iron bands. What's the name of the poem, please? Don't you know the poem? You've never heard of it. Oh, goodness gracious. The village blacksmith under the spreading chestnut tree? Well, that's going to cost you your ice cube tray.
In the 50s, the accent was on short titles, high-key suspense, and also on soccer-to-em compares.
Welcome to Concentration. It's a brand new quiz show, a show which doesn't require any particular skill or knowledge of contestants other than the ability to memorize or concentrate, or both.
Barry McQueen's here with us this evening. Welcome, Barry. Okay. In the late 60s, it was more laid-back and relaxed.
This man, Big Nine current champion from Sydney, has defeated 5 challengers to win $10,200. In our current game, he has 5 points against a South Australian challenger who has 0 points. 2 contestants isolated from each other in soundproof booths. Both players racing to reach 9 points. Playing for television's highest money stakes. Of the Big Nine! And here's our host, Ethel Guy!
Tonight we're auctioning Ethel's glasses, by the way. TV pioneer Chuck Faulkner did a quiz show too, but did he have the key to it?
Six wonderful prizes. It must, first of all, let's see if it opens the Hoovermatic washing machine. No. We go along to our tape recorder. Still no click. I'm waiting for the click. Let's go to the rotisserie. No rotisserie. Down to the 23-inch television set. No. We come to the Waltham watch. Still no click, so it has to be, unless I'm sadly mistaken.
I think, in fairness to, I should point out, neither was it the key to the Channel 10 safe. Well, as it turned out. Then there were contestants such as Barry Jones, who'd sometimes baffle the viewers, and on one famous occasion, the Quizmaster.
Who was the first Governor-General, British Governor-General of India?
Now, there are two.
His
there
name.
Could be two answers. Look, it could be either Canning or Mountbatten, because Canning was Governor-General of India in 1858, and Mountbatten was Governor-General of India in 1948. Now, it could be either of those two.
One of those two, huh? The first...
You mean with the actual title of Governor-General of India, the former Governor-Generals were called Governor-General of Bengal. And earlier, of course, the first Governor-General of Bengal was Warren Hastings. But he was only Governor-General of Bengal. He was, in effect, Governor-General of Bengal.
Customers, I find myself in a dilemma.
A good quiz show could mean success over many years for compares and sometimes contestants. Another early and very successful picker-box contestant was a clever young man, John Morris. Almost 20 years later, he's still in the business.
This is our carryover champion, John Morris from New South Wales. Stand by to see John attempt TV history, playing for over $78,000.
Of course, Sale of the Century, one of our most successful major hits now, shows the updating.
Tonight on Australia's biggest bargain sale, we're offering a Mercedes-Benz valued at $41,385 for $470 on Sale of the Century. And now, here's the star of our show, Tony Berber.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
You know, variety shows have been another bread and butter staple of our TV tonight. Tony Lamont and the late Frank Sheldon are seen here now from one of the very first major Australian studio productions. It was the opening of the Channel 9 studios in Melbourne.
What you're losing by constantly refusing to dance with me. You need the idol of France with me. But yet you stand there and shake your foolish head dramatically while I stand here so ecstatically. You just frown and say emphatically,
Not this reason, there's a reason.
Tony Lamont and Frank Sheldon came to television from the theatre, which together with radio gave television variety its major talent source. After this commercial break, we look at television variety. We remember the shows, but more importantly, we remember the people. Welcome back. Right, a question. What's the hardest area of television to produce? You ask a newsman, you know his answer will be news. Our sporting commentator will vote for his calling. Ask a variety performer, and the Kennedys, the Lanes, the Walshes, the Sigleys, and the Newtons will chorus not only the hardest, but the only area of television. But the Kennedys, the Lanes, the Walshes, the Sigleys, and the Newtons all owe a lot to this man who pioneered coast-to-coast variety. just as words need music, Bobby's wife, Dawn Lake, was the ideal partner in his shows.
I love you and don't you forget it. I love you and don't you forget it. I love you and don't you forget it, baby. Love me too and you won't regret it. Love me too and you won't regret it. Love me too and you won't regret it, baby.
And before anyone could say give Dawn her own show, they did.
Here's Dawn, here's Dawn. Here's Dawn, here's Dawn, with the happy-go-lucky style. Here's Dawn, she's the one that'll make you smile. So stop in your tracks, sit back and relax, and in a little while, if you keep this spot on the dial, here's Dawn. Hello, love, how are you?
Tonight, Dawn, your husband Bob is not judging. From me, 50 out of 50.
Do you tell him now?
Yeah. Another pioneer, Barry Crocker, had his version of Sound of Music. There was a time when Barry Crocker was the biggest star in Australian television. Then came Don Lane, who beat him by 2 inches. From Footscray to London, to Luxembourg, to Adelaide, and then back to Melbourne. The trip was long, but never dull for one of our earliest and most successful stars, culminating in his highly successful national show in 1974. Here's the old rocker himself, Ernie Sigley. It's a nationwide hit for Ernie and his old sparring partner, Denise Drysdale. Ernie and Denise revelled in their special kind of fun together, and so did the audience. They gave us a lot of laughs all along the way. Thanks, Ernie, and thanks, Ding Dong. But when you talk about laughs, the full-time job of making people laugh always fell upon the shoulders of variety shows leading comics. And the Nine Network was blessed with 2 of the greatest classic comedians that we've seen. The late Buster Fidesz.
What are you doing here? Haven't you heard? The Commonwealth Bank has branches everywhere.
And Jock Allen, who received what many of us believe to be the longest ever laugh on TV.
Yes, may I just have a look at it? What a gorgeous movie. That's the second Hoover balloon that's gone off this week.
There is Jock. Just hold on 1 second. You could never welcome Jock in any other way except by saying, "Howdy doody, Jopper boy." Jock Allen. In 1957, in Melbourne Tonight began as a purely local tonight show on 9 Melbourne. It's become one of the most historically significant variety series in Australian television history. It featured not only an enormous number of performers, but over the years, more than 50 different compares. Well, you see, you've got to remember you're older too. 9 Melbourne those days was doing more live variety than any other Australian station. Each year, more than 2,000 acts were engaged for its shows. Some were paid. At one point, IMT had 4 different compares every week. In 1970, all 4 of them co-compared the one show.
We get lots of that. We've got a girl assistant with dark and flashing eyes. A lovely little Dutch girl who's keen on exercise.
I drove her here from one night and I got her a minor prize. We all agree to join us here on IMT.
The record breaking in Melbourne Tonight, or IMT as it was called by most people, was the joining together of many talents, many people over many years, but the one name synonymous with the show is the man who began it. Its greatest compere is now known everywhere as the King.
9:30.
A show for you that is so happy and bright, with gaiety and music and such a happy crowd. We will do our best to keep you laughing out loud in Melbourne tonight. Just stay on Channel 9.
In Melbourne Tonight, I call it a real swinging singing show, because not only have we the delightful and charming Miss Evie Hayes, but we have Bill McCormick, we have Elaine McKenna, we have the Tune Twisters, so I guess it's a swinging singing show.
Everybody, brace!
Oh, no wonder Louis Armstrong went black in the face when he tried. Go on, Nick.
I don't know, but I can, my love.
Can't you? All right.
That's all right, I
We've
can,
got
I
a
can, I
definite
can.
thing there.
My name is Purgius.
What?
My name is Purgius.
Purgius. That's not a name, that's a laxative.
Maharishi, I understand that you are the Beatles' spiritual advisor. Yes? You should say that.
At this point, I have forgotten.
This is my tip-top pop-up toaster. It really is a pop-up toaster. You want to see it pop up?
Let me entertain you, and we'll have a real good time. Yes, sir! We'll have a real good time. And now, here's Graham.
And now, here's Graham.
Well, Bert, I'll take it now if you like. I'm sure mine's the gold one.
I don't think Graham. No.
And there's no need to wrap it. I'll polish it here.
Graham, no.
I'd like to thank my voice coach, John Singleton.
No,
I'd like to thank Patty Newton for giving me a go in the first place.
Graham.
No personal stuff. No personal stuff. Yes, Mr. Benny.
Graham, you're here this evening because we're celebrating 25 years of television, and you're a very significant part of those 25 years, and it's wonderful to have you here as one of our special guests.
Gotcha. I see what you mean. And I'm thrilled to be standing here with you after all those years of sitting behind desks. I sat behind desks for so long that millions of viewers in Australia think there's something wrong with my legs.
I've seen them, they're right.
No personal stuff.
No personal stuff.
I want you to know, old cock.
I'm only 43.
I want you to know that I have still got hair on my legs.
Not fair.
Some of them are.
Listen,
no personal stuff. No personal
You
stuff.
promised you wouldn't talk about the transplant. And for your information, by the way, they did not take the hair from my legs.
They took it from Patty's legs. Poor Patty. On her poor little leg.
No personal stuff.
No
you
personal
promised.
stuff.
These days, Graham, of course, you see, you're standing here and everyone's thrilled to see you, but you don't need a desk these days.
I don't need a desk.
No, because you've got your stomach. Graham! Kiss me.
How dare you refer to my stomach?
Well, you didn't need the desk in the old days, did you?
No, I didn't. You're supposed to say... You're supposed to say I didn't need it then.
I just did.
Well, do it again.
Okay, right. Take two. Here's Graham.
No.
You didn't need it. Take two of Graham. You didn't need it in the old days.
I couldn't afford it in the old days.
Yeah, I was right.
Wasn't worth it.
Yeah, no, not at all. It now comes to fruition. I was right all those years. Looking at all those old clips of IMT.
I can work with Catholics.
Well, I tell you what, I bet you'll never marry one.
This is true.
Looking back on the old days of
Yes.
IMT, it really does bring back memories, doesn't it?
But the thing I was struck with was you. So handsome. Was he handsome? Yeah. What happened?
Listen, no personal stuff.
No personal stuff.
Although, damn it, I was handsome. You know, we had a great double act in the old days. I was the handsome one, and you were the What were you?
I was the star.
That's right. Yeah, you were the star who got all the money.
You were the handsome one.
Yeah. They used to call us Beauty in the Wallet.
Yes.
You were wrong then, weren't you?
I was, definitely. You know, Bert... Oh, of course you know Bert.
I'm here.
You know Bert Comer.
Yes.
framed on my wall at home is the very first cheque that Channel 9 ever gave me.
Really?
Yes, bloody bank still won't take it.
As a matter of interest, who signed it?
Master Kerry Packer. It was only $60. I think it was his lunch money. In the early days, I used to get 6 pounds a night.
Is that all?
Well, yes, how much did you get?
Oh, well, it's not for me to
How
say.
much did you get?
I've always been bigger than you.
No, personal stuff. How much did you get? How much did you get?
Well, look, Graham, it's wonderful to have you here.
But how much did you get?
Well, about the same as you.
Yes, but how much below the same as me?
It was exactly the same. Plus
what?
a suit.
You got a suit?
Only if the news finished early.
But listen, if I was the star, why did they give me a jacket?
Because you had the desk, right? Yeah. Of course, later on, when Graham became a huge star, they did buy you a pair of trousers, eh?
No, they just kept swapping desks. They gave me different desks. I got the program manager's desk, the receptionist's desk. I even had, at one point, Sir Frank Packer's desk. Remember Sir Frank Packer's desk, the one with the machine gun in the front? Oh.
I'll say this for Sir Frank, when he fired people, they stayed fired.
Is the Pope a bowl?
We hope so.
That's a lot of shows under the bridge, Herbie.
Yeah, little sketches under the bridge too, Graham.
Yes.
A lot of wheel contestants under the bridge.
And a lot of barrel girls you had under the bridge too.
Graham, you promised no personal stuff.
Sorry, but that's live television, you see. We did it for years, 5 nights a week, live. Live singers, live band, live sketches, dead audiences. Not tonight, though. We were a young group of performers in an even younger medium. Not sure of what we were doing, but whatever it was live. There was no take two. Some of the jokes may have been a bit second-hand, but we didn't know. Some of the things we did in those days were impossible to do, but we did them. We were young, we were live, so we did it. And then we came back. And then we came back the next night and did it all over again with Joff and Rosie and the gang. So if anyone ever offered me take two of my life, I'd do exactly the same with the same people, the same crew, at the same channel, but perhaps a different crow call. And as for you, mate, I could never have done it then and never do it again without you.
Well, how does one guy say to another, things you'd tell your girl or your mother? Well, I can say it brother to brother, I love you. That's how I feel, honest. I feel it too, honest. Each word is true, honest. What would I do without you?
Without me, Graham?
Bertie. Without you, I'm nothing. Without you, I'm nowhere. Without you, my life is stormy. And old pal, I've got no doubt. Without you here fighting for me, they're gonna count me out. Oh! Without you, all my kicks are gone. Say, without you, I just can't go on. The moon won't shine and the day won't dawn. Without who? Without you, I'm zero. Without you, I'm minus. Tomorrow. Without you, cruel world, goodbye. I've got bitter tears and sorrow. I think I'm gonna cry. Hey, without you, lover, I'm the least. Hey, without you, beauty, I'm the beast. I'm dead. He's done. I'm gone. Deceased without her. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you. Without you.
We're back with you soon. A government overthrown. Who won at the races or at the cricket? Everybody wants to know what's happening, and TV tells them. And tonight's audience, a newsman who himself made news, but he so rightly was knighted by the Queen for his services to this industry. Veteran 9 Melbourne newsreader, Sir Eric Pearce. As you can see, Sir Eric is a one-eyed Channel 9 fan. This, incidentally, is the latest Eric has stayed up for 10 years. Chuck Faulkner, when he wasn't struggling with quiz programs, was TCN, Australia's first TV newsreader. And he's dressed formally not because he was going to a party. Our early newsreaders were supposed to dress formally while reading the news. And back in those days, it was just that, someone reading news items in front of a camera. Gradually were added film inserts and interviews, until today our news programs are the equal of any in the world. They're illustrated with film shot locally and interstate, also sent by orbiting satellites from every corner of the globe. If it happens almost anywhere in the world, spectacular pictures of the people and events can be brought within minutes into our homes. Presenting it all still are the newsreaders. And here are two of the most watched newsreaders in Australia today, particularly by management. Brian Henderson, who came from Dunedin, New Zealand, to work at Radio TCH Sydney, before becoming yet another radio to TV man back in 1957. Brian always wanted to be a journalist, and when he came to TCN, his work was reading news and doing several other things, such as comparing Bandstand for 13 years, but more of that later. And Melbourne's Brian Naylor, he started at Channel 7 in Melbourne. At Channel 7 in Melbourne, he too compared a musical show, Swallows Juniors, as well as reading news for 10 years before joining the 9 Network. It's a very rare event tonight, back in formal attire again. Here they are, together, in the one place, to take us back, as only they can, for some of the most significant news events of these last 25 years.
Thank you, Bert, and good evening. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have chosen what we believe to be some of the biggest news stories covered by television over the last 25 years. Some are historic events, others stand out for the impact they had on our nation or the world at the time they happened.
First is a tribute to 5 of our colleagues who died covering the war in East Timor. The film you're about to see won awards for the best news report of 1975. You'll know why when you watch the faces of young children caught up in the terror of war.
Well, that's rifle fire, repeated rifle fire. Before we heard mortar going off. Now, as far as we understand, the Fretland are the only ones with mortar.
The cameraman Brian Peters, who shot that graphic film, reporter Malcolm Rennie from Channel 9 Melbourne, and 3 newsmen from the 7 Network were killed when Indonesian troops invaded East Timor. It was nearly 2 years before the circumstances of their death were confirmed and Indonesia revealed the existence of this mass grave near Jakarta.
Gerald Stone, who featured in that report on their Timor fighting, was the first newsman from Australia to get into the war zone. Of course, he's still with the Nine Network as executive producer of our top-rating current affairs program, 60 Minutes.
Well, it happened 17 years ago now, but the assassination of President John F. Kennedy still ranks as one of our most unforgettable news stories. Nearly everyone old enough remembers where they were that Saturday morning when the news came through. But the shock didn't end there. 2 days later, we saw accused assassin Lee Harvey Oswald gunned down.
Shoot anybody, no, sir. Just said Oswald, who said he did not shoot anybody. Would we have some kind of a statement, Captain Chris? That's not Chris. Here is a suspect. Re-roll it, please. A suspect.
America was stunned by the death of its youngest president, and Australians were to know that same feeling just 4 years later. Prime Minister Harold Holt was missing after a swim near Portsea in Victoria. For 2 days, the Nine Network's live coverage kept the nation informed on the massive search.
This is the path he took to the treacherous beach. A sou'wester is starting to blow now. 50 Navy divers are on the scene, working in 3 lots of 10s. You fellows yesterday described the conditions as similar to being inside a washing machine. Is it the same today?
Same today, yeah.
Mrs. Holt has now moved to Navy headquarters. One's heart goes out to her, but only for the extreme sorrow and sadness of it all, but so too for the courage, the very rare courage she has shown in the gesture of this visit to keep personnel engaged in the search operation.
Television has captured the drama of many grim moments. We're about to recall 5 disasters that happened in the past 25 years, the most tragic events Australia has known in that time.
Australian aircraft carrier HMAS Melbourne earned a reputation as a jinx ship because of her involvement in 2 disasters. Twice during the 1960s, we watched her limp back home after tragic collisions at sea.
February 1964, the Melbourne hits the Australian destroyer Voyager during exercises off Jervis Bay. 82 crewmen die. June 1969, this time she collides with an American destroyer, the Frank E. Evans, in the South China Sea. 74 American sailors are lost. Navy jet fighters and helicopters have been lost in freak accidents. Today, Australia's only working carrier is in her twilight years.
Those of us who work in newsrooms become, I suppose, a little accustomed to the bizarre. But one story emerged from the jungles of South America that even we found hard to believe. It didn't seem possible that one man could persuade 913 people to poison themselves in a mass suicide. Not until we saw this.
The Americans lay rotting in the sun just where they died.
The Guyana government wanted the world to see the most incredible mass suicide in history. It was the most macabre sight any of the doctors, soldiers, and reporters had ever seen. Entire families took the poison together, laid down, some embracing, others holding hands, and died. Police say there were guards with crossbows present during the suicides, but apparently everyone who came to the Jonestown Community Center that night knew they were going to die.
Politics has provided some of the truly dramatic occasions during the past 25 years. Watergate was one example. Corruption and cover-up were the ingredients of a political thriller that made compulsive viewing in the nightly news. It ran for 2 years as the world waited to see whether a U.S. president could place himself above the law.
Richard Nixon called it a third-rate burglary, but when his former lawyer, John Dean, told all to a Senate investigating committee, the campaign of dirty tricks was traced directly to the White House. 7 key Nixon aides were indicted. The president toughed it out for 26 months until he, too, faced impeachment.
I have never been a quitter. To leave office before my term is completed is abhorrent to every instinct in my body. But as president, I must put the interests of America first.
Pardoned by his successor, Nixon left the White House in disgrace, but a loyal staff refused to desert him.
We don't have a good word for it in English. The best is au revoir. We'll see you again.
Australian politics was to have its own crisis in the 70s. The sacking of Prime Minister Gough Whitlam by Governor-General Sir John Kerr is still being argued over by the constitutional experts. But there's no denying it provoked the most amazing scenes ever witnessed in Canberra.
Well, may we say, God save the Queen. Because nothing will save the Governor-General. Proclamation, which you have just heard read by the Governor-General's official secretary, was countersigned Malcolm Fraser. Who will undoubtedly go down in Australian history from Remembrance Day 1975 as Kerr's Kerr.
Unlike Gough Whitlam, Sir Robert Menzies chose his own moment to bow out as Prime Minister. This was his last news conference. You might notice a young Mike Willesee in the front row.
How do you feel about retiring at the very moment when the first woman Prime Minister in the world is appointed? Is this a trend?
Well, I'll convey to Mrs. Gandy your ideas on this matter. I know her. She's an extraordinarily able woman, and I wish her well. But she's not my wife. I have one of my own. Harold has one of his. Bill McMahon, God be praised, has one of his. We're not answerable for our wives. They, poor dears, are answerable for us.
Television has, of course, come a long way since the Menzies era. Hendo and I both remember the time when overseas film stories arrived by air, often days after the event. Now satellites take our viewers almost anywhere in the globe in an instant. It's remarkable technology, and we owe it all to something that we used to call the space race.
Russia started it off in 1957 with the launch of the Sputnik satellite and the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin. Early American efforts were marked by some spectacular failures. But in the middle and late 60s, US astronauts proved that man could survive in space. Often we went with them, at least on television. And cameras were there again in July 1969 when the ultimate goal was achieved.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Astronauts have ventured no further into the solar system, but television has, taking us to the surface of Mars, to Jupiter, and the ringed planet Saturn. And in an endless universe, we can all be sure there's more to come.
Certainly is much more to come. Almost every day, new technology is helping us to bring you the news faster and more reliably. Well, Brian, we must be doing something fairly right, because our viewers now rate television news the most credible of all the media. Well, I guess there's nothing more to say now, except it's good night from that Brian, good night from that Brian. And here's Bert. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
They were here this evening because Kerry told them. In this news and current affairs area, a striking achievement has been the public support nationally for the Sunday night 60 Minutes program. A record like this stretches back over the years to a current affair and Australia's first current affairs show, TCN 9's Meet the Press, chaired by David McNichol, who's here this evening. Of course, who is to my right, naturally. A little later, the Nine Network engaged as the news commentator Kevin Sanders, and a man who always pursued the newsman's obligation to get his facts right.
Talk this week in Australia was the air disaster in Queensland with a loss of 24 dead. Most newspapers expressed dismay and sorrow, but also stressed that even with the new disasters this week, Australia's safety record in terms of air passenger deaths per million miles flown is still the lowest in the world. Typical was the editorial comment in the Brisbane Courier Mail. It said, wrong paper. Let's get our papers in order here. If we could just return for one moment to some commercials, that's giving me a chance to get what apparently I have here a very disorganized range of papers. And rather than go through all of them searching and lapsing from time to time, I think if we could pause for just 1 second.
Kevin, if you say so, we'll do that. We're back with you after this commercial break. And now to an increasingly important area, daytime television, where, for example, Mike Walsh achieves per capita world record audiences. No man is an island. Mike is surrounded by a sea of soapies. And as we pass through these restless years, living out these days of our lives, we face life knowing our quest is really a search for tomorrow. While love may be a many splendid thing for the young and the restless, and the not so young and restless, there is fortunately another world. You know, for as long as there have been soap operas, they've had certain standard ingredients. Good, honest, homespun people. A few not so honest people, but preferably homespun, not so honest people. The essential ingredient that lingers them all together and links them is the telephone.
I got it. Hello?
Hi, Brian. This is Vince.
We must have a bad connection.
Is something wrong?
My water pump went out and there wasn't any service station open.
God, no. Well, when? When did it happen?
I want to see your face when I tell you. I won't tell you over the phone.
Isn't that a bit risky?
Oh, I didn't know it was going to be like this.
Come on, dear. I want you to be honest about your feelings.
How about going to dinner with me tonight?
Oh, God. How can I have his child?
She seems very sure of herself.
She lost their baby.
Maybe that baby wasn't meant for us.
There's only one way to find out.
Exactly how pregnant are you?
I'm just uncomfortable, that's all.
Come back here, you little parasite. Gene, come back here. All right, go on. Go ahead. Go on. You'll be back. You're going to come back crawling on your hands and knees, begging me to take you back.
Incidentally, that gentleman receives the Tony Ward Memorial Trophy for Best Sustained Performance in a Continuing Role on television. See, this is the special land of daytime television, and for many years it was the special terrain of one man who came to Australia from the USA, originally as a comedian, and stayed to become an Australian institution.
It could be you, Mrs. R. Dawsing of Royal Crescent in Armadale. It could be you, Mrs. Rita Henderson of Edinburgh Street in Flemington. It could be you, Mrs. M. McCabe of Ann Street in Blackburn. Or it could be you. And now here is your master of surprises, Tommy Hanlon, Jr.
Whatever you do, don't turn that dial, and hello all the country stations now, because we got a good show for you today, and some lady or gentleman out there is going to have a chance to find the Riverland orange with 30 pounds in it. Mercy!
Jack Little is with us this evening. Welcome, Jack. Wonderful to have you here. Jack Little will be Tommy's announcer. And it could be you, use telephones too, and tape recorders. Its specialty, of course, was surprise reunions.
Well, May, I'll sign off now and say goodbye. I'd like to thank everyone in Australia for what they're doing for us. Keep well, and remember, we'll be seeing you soon. I love you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. In fact, please stand up and turn around so I can see you now.
May, you want to see your hand right over there?
You want to see your two grandchildren you've never seen? No, you won't frighten them. There they come.
Today, Tommy Hanlon. Yes, let's hear it for you. Tommy now is giving most of his time to another love. And if Murphy ever finds out, she'll kill him. The other love, of course, I refer to as the circus. It's time now for another reunion, this time between you and Tommy Hanlon, Jr. Well, how are you?
What?
How are you?
What?
How are you?
You'll have to speak up, Bert. I've been sitting between Jack Little and Mary all night, and Mary Hardy. I can't hear a word now.
Well,
she hasn't shut up. She interrupted herself twice to tell me something.
Tommy, 25 years of television, which is very important to us and very important to you. Do you have anything of real significance to say to everybody watching?
Is this honestly a live program?
Of course it is.
It's not on tape?
Not at all.
They can't cut one thing?
Not one thing.
I'd like to say a few words about Silver Circus, ladies and gentlemen, which will be in Traralgon for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and then we're up in Gippsland now. We'll be there for quite a while.
Would it happen in the other pocket? You just may have a letter from Mother?
Just might happen.
It's all yours.
Bless you. Thank you. Oh, we go back a long time. Peter Feynman called and he says, we're running so late and all, so please cut. So I've got a very small letter, Peter, from my mother. He just had a heart attack. She says, Dear Tommy Jean, I wish you wouldn't call me that, you know, when you get to be 39. Well, yesterday was St. Valentine's Day. It was, too, wasn't it? And you wouldn't believe the St. Valentine's present I got from Dr. Christian Bernard. Oh, yeah, Sorry to hear you're not with Channel 10 anymore. Oh, man. But they are noted for cutting out the live wood. Sad to hear Bernard King isn't doing well. I didn't say that. I just said he was buying all his meat at Kohl's. Your Aunt Alice isn't well again. My Aunt Alice is always sick, you know. It's what's happened to her now. She has arthritis and the St. Vitus dance. Ooh, that was smart, wouldn't it? I remember once she was on a cruise and she got seasick and lockjaw at the same time. Not going too fast. Great news about our educational system here. All the Catholic schools have agreed to financial support the government. Oh, I get that, yes. Your stepfather took me to a concert last night. Leonard Bernstein and the New York Philharmonic Orchestra with guest pianist Little Richard. That'd be a wild one, wouldn't it? Yes. I'll bet you're thrilled with all the work Bert Newton is getting. Thrilled to death. No, I really is. I am. He did his time, you know. I tell you, Bert is so wealthy now. His son, Matthew, Bert asked his son, what do you want for Christmas? And he says, I want a cowboy outfit. So he bought him 3 UZ. Did you hear about the new hostage doll in America? You wind it up and it doesn't do anything for 444 days. Just been a news flash on TV. The 52 hostages have been sent back to Iran. America's check bounced. Your cousin George came in the house yesterday crying, and I said, what's the matter? He said, my girl got kicked in the stomach. I said, a lot of girls have been kicked in the stomach. He said, from the inside? I'll wait. Your Uncle Harry, oh, he's a window cleaner. You know, he loves height. Had an accident yesterday. He was cleaning windows on the 10th floor and fell off the scaffolding. Hit the pavement, was run over by a truck and bounced into a tree. All he got was some black and blue marks. Of course, they haven't found his head yet. President Reagan had his 70th birthday last week. He's the only cowboy I know who has a horse with an orthopedic saddle. Your sister said hello. My sister loves animals. She's got a 3-legged dog. Falls over every 4th step. When it has to wee, it's murder. Oh, she loves animals. I'll tell you, this is the type of girl she is. She found a lizard with a broken leg on the road, and she took it home and got 2 matchsticks and made a little splint out of it and wrapped it with threads, you know, and fed it with an eyedropper and little flies and things, and rubbed it with olive oil so its skin wouldn't get hard and everything, you know. And it got well. And she made a wallet out of it. Happy birthday to Graham. Oh, yeah, bless us. Today is Graham's birthday, you know, Graham Kennedy. And I would like to say publicly that if it wasn't for Graham, I wouldn't be here. I've said that all my life, but since I've been here. But Graham kept me on IMT and all, and I hope he's never regretted it because I haven't. I've had a marvelous time. And so happy birthday. Does Graham still remember my favorite riddle? What's brown, covered in sugar, and has its hand on its groin? A gingerbread man with a hernia. She's getting sick. Well, by now the audience must be hysterical. May I leave you with this one thought for the day? My mother said this one. She says television is a marvelous game. It's where you write all your friends' phone numbers down in the address book, but with pencil. Good night.
We're back with you soon from Centrepoint, Sydney, 25 years of television. Now, the cast of 2 of the 9 network's very popular drama series. I'd like to welcome cast members of The Young Doctors who are here this evening. And the cast of The Sullivans. Shows like these are another very vital part of the industry we're looking back on tonight. Now, can you remember 4 years ago how the very first episode of The Sullivans started?
name's Kitty Sullivan. Today's the beginning of the school holidays, and Terry and I, he's my brother, we're just going to go off on a secret adventure. If we'd have known what was going to happen to us, though, we'd never have started it.
Indeed, Kitty, you couldn't have known all the things that were going to happen to you. Your three brothers would serve in the army overseas, your Jewish shopkeeper would be interned, yet your eldest brother would live in Palestine. Your uncle would marry again after your aunt's death, you'd have a string of boyfriends, you'd be married and pregnant within 5 years, your father would go back into the army, and the greatest shock of all, your mother would end up in the best little whorehouse in Texas. Just as a lot of things have happened to Kitty and the Sullivans, a lot of things have happened in the area of TV drama over 25 years. The Shell drama series in the late 50s brought back from Hollywood for the production Tragedy in a Temporary Town Australian actor Michael Pate, seen here with producers Rod Kinnear and Norman Spencer, and we welcome them.
Sure you don't believe all that sort of stuff, son?
Very early productions included You Too Can Have a Body. In those days, they were done live to air, many being stage plays performed in front of cameras. One memorable one, of course, was One Day of the Year.
Proud of it. Dad, don't. Well, you kids today, you're not happy unless you're copying the Yanks. Wearing Yank clothes, singing Yank songs, rock and ruddy roll. I tell you, me and Whack, we're the last of the Australians.
Why don't you say a few words?
That was adapted straight from the stage, unlike Nine's comedy series Barley Charlie, which was a very early made-for-TV show, the first Australian TV situation comedy.
Hey,
Technical advances with film and videotape broadened the scope of drama presentation. And soon we began tackling serious social themes, a sort of early life wasn't meant to be easy approach.
They are children, yet they're no longer children. They're grown up, but they're not yet adults. Teenagers, adolescents, youngsters. What are they really? Call them what you choose. They are the unloved. What happens to these young people? They become problems. And some of them end up before the children's court.
And if childhood was brought to you as being pretty grim, gosh, wait until you grew up.
Also works in this club.
I'm Ron Hedrick. This is Divorce Court. Whether in our own families, among our friends, or by our own doing, every single one of us will be touched by divorce. If you haven't been, you will be. This is fact. We report the heartbreaking story of divorce as it actually happens, in the hope that what you're about to see here may help to stem the ever-mounting divorce rate.
We'd like to welcome those of you in the audience who have been through divorce court. Then along came one man, and he forged what we can now see was the breakthrough in drama production, a man who's respected as one of the great pioneers. He had a dream for Australian television, and he saw it come to fruition. I'm only sorry that due to ill health, he can't be with us this evening. Of course, I refer to Mr. Hector Crawford. Hector, I know you're watching this evening's program, and not, of course, from only 500 people here, but from thousands upon thousands of people right throughout Australia. We salute you. It's an immense gamble. It was an act of confidence in the future. He launched for the 7 Network the first of what would become a string of police action dramas, Homicide, a TV landmark. For the 9 Network, Hector Crawford made the Hunter series, the most ambitious series for its time, with its echoes of the James Bond cool and sexy sleuthing style, then popular as a result naturally of the Bond films. And today, it really is fun to look back.
Quick, take the Mustang and get back out of the way.
What do you mean you think there's a...
Go on, quickly. Pity we haven't got some chops.
Although the Hunter budget that week apparently didn't run the chops, the series did provide us with a new star and a new type of villain here in Australia, the infamous Cragg, alias Gerard Kennedy. But soon, in a new series, he became a born-again goodie, a policeman, in fact, in Division 4. And here once again up pops old Mr. Versatile himself, Chuck Faulkner, this time as an actor.
Boy, it works for half a minute. It was a regular money.
By now, dramas were out of the studio. They're on location. And in series such as Spy Force, presented performances from great Australian actors of the caliber of John Malyon.
Ain't me mate! Cover now! Get back to work.
John Malyon. And location became so important after Spy Force. That scene you've just seen actually was shot where it actually happened, North Dubbo. Spy Force also expanded the career of another Australian actor, now ranked in terms of international stardom, Jack Thompson. Made in this country, yes, please. Made in Australia, it became our second most successful show to be exported and shown in other countries. Now, if you're expecting me to say which show was the most successful as an export product, I won't. Instead, I'd like to show you. The incredible Skippy was bought by a record 128 overseas countries and seen by audiences that can be counted in the hundreds of millions. Its actors were to become among the most recognizable Australian faces worldwide. And people who wouldn't know what our Prime Minister looked like were able to recognize such Skippy performers as Ken James, Tony Bonner, and the actor we've flown especially to be here this evening from England, where he's enjoying a very successful career, Ed Devereaux. Make welcome to the stage, Tony, Ken, and Ed. There they are, not looking a day over 23.
That's only the inside leg, lad. Only the inside leg.
Ed, let me ask you about those years in Skippy. I'm told that you're the most easily recognised star overseas because of Skippy.
Well, can I tell you something? That over the last 13 years, there's not been one single day throughout the entire television world of this world on the planet on which we live, that Skippy has not been shown in one of the countries that it's been sold in, which is 123. So every day, over the last 13 years, Skippy has been shown. That can't be bad.
Yep, exactly. It's sounded, as you've said, in so many countries. Do you have any examples at all of people recognising you?
Lots and lots and lots. But the one I would like to centre on is when I was in Detroit, Michigan, deep in the winters there. I was just walking down the road. Oh, good morning, matron. Oh, it's you, Starfield.
Just
Yes, by all means. I think this boy's got something wrong. However, I was just walking down the street of Michigan. It's all right, fellas. And keep an eye on me, won't you? There you are. Yes. Hi, Frank. I was just walking down the street in Michigan, and I'm with you, too. I'll get to the story in a minute.
Let me explain to you, we have in the audience this evening Mr. Frank Sinatra.
Yes. It's all the mafia here. You know, if I don't say it right, they're going to kill me before I get out of the building.
No, just not pay you.
Pay? Do you mean pay? We get
What
paid
about all
for...
those residuals?
Oh, right. Oh, we're filing it away under M.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. No, to get to the story, folks, I was walking down the street in Michigan, and a bunch of kids were coming down the street, and they said to me, one kid came out of the line and he said, "Hey, man," he said, "ain't you that cat with a kangaroo?"
And that was in Michigan.
And that was in Michigan. I don't think anybody heard that. I said, I was walking down the street in Michigan, and
It's
a
all my
guy
fault.
came up
Obviously,
to
the
me.
sound was much better when you were back there, you see. I blame myself.
Listen, you're only doing that because you want to goose me. I know that.
Not again.
Listen, it's not Thanksgiving, is it?
No, not at all.
No, well, I'm not...
Ed, one best remembered Skippy cast member is not on stage this evening with yourself and with Tony and with Ken James.
Oh, no, there's two.
Gary Pankhurst was only...
My young brother.
Your young brother, Gary
My
Pankhurst.
young brother, Gary Pankhurst, who was that big.
Well, he's only 9, I think, when the show started.
That was 16 years ago, Bert.
Yeah, 1960. Have a look at him.
Oh, God.
Where is he?
Where is he now? Gary Pankhurst.
Happy birthday, son.
Oh, no, don't cut it yet. You've got to make a wish first. What'll I wish for, Skip?
I know. I wish I was going to Sydney with Jerry in the helicopter today.
You shouldn't have wished out loud. It's bad luck.
Not today, Sonny. You'd weigh him down after all you've eaten. He'd never get home before dark.
No reason why he can't come along, Matt. I'll only be 20 minutes or so in the workshop, then I'll be coming straight back.
Please, Dad, won't you let me?
Well, that's it. Tony, I'm glad you could come along. What happened to your younger brother? Was he there? The younger brother of yours there?
Well, 16 years ago, you see, I guess Gary Pankhurst realised then he was a child actor, but of course today he couldn't be. In fact, he's not doing any acting at
I
all
was
these
a child
days.
actor 16 years ago. What are you talking about?
How long since you've seen Gary?
I haven't seen Gary Pankhurst for 13 years.
Well, as Tommy Hanlon would say, golly gee, I've got a great reunion for you. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Pankhurst.
Where?
Gary Pankhurst?
Yeah, of course
What
it
is this? What is all...
Pankhurst, too. Gary Pankhurst? He was a little boy. Now
Yeah.
he's like a building out for a hike.
And the embarrassing thing yet, of course, is that was the kid in Michigan. Yeah,
You
that's
flew
the
him all the
boy.
way there. Just so embarrassing.
Gary, it's lovely to have
Oh,
you here.
Bert.
With other cast members of Skippy, as I mentioned to you before, the most successful overseas series. You know, a lot of people around the world would believe our kangaroos, like Skippy, wonderful and clever creatures that they may be, possess amazing qualities that we don't always credit them with. Have a look at this.
Well, what's wrong, Skip? What's happened? What is it? Where'd you get it? Not Matt. Then why the urgency? Jim? It's from Jim. He's in trouble. His car's broken down. He can't get to the show. Is that it, Skip? Come on, Skip. We haven't much time.
It has been a great reunion. Gary, Ed, Ken, and Tony, thank you for being with us. All the best. Skippy, incidentally, is now advertising manager for Channel 7 in Adelaide. As we've been talking about drama, I've got some news. The National Line Network has decided to make 2 grants in the area of drama, each of $10,000. Now, the first goes to the National Institute of Dramatic Art, NIDA, which has produced performers such as the caliber of Helen Morse, Gary MacDonald, Judy Morris. The second goes to the Australian Film and Television School for the development of new concepts in children's television. The school is a Commonwealth government authority created in 1973, and it began professional training for film and television people, including Gillian Armstrong, the director of My Brilliant Career. The Nine Network makes these grants with its warmest wishes to people developing in these areas of television. We're back with you soon. That's called Count the Waiters. Okay. TV has had many landmark programs. One stands out for special milestone reasons, like running for 14 years as a national show, like becoming the nation's top showcase for Australian singing talent, a forerunner of today's Countdown on Channel 2. It began, believe it or not, in 1957 as Phillips Ballroom Dancing. It became TD Ballroom, then Accent on Youth, until with a new, catchier title, it turned it itself into an Australian TV institution. Thank you.
With my sweetheart's phone. I sent her a letter by my Uncle Bud, and I rode away on the Tennessee Stud.
I don't like snails or toads or frogs or things that become the lobster. Oh, I love onions.
Good night, Australia.
Shows like Bandstand can survive only by a constant infusion of new talent. And this is one reason we have talent quests, such as New Faces. In our audience this evening is the man who started the whole thing. Its original and highly respected compere. I welcome Frank Wilson. Welcome, Frank. In Frank's years with the show, as in mine, the eternal search for new and special talents sometimes produces some novel results.
Next one will be a turkey gobbler.
Do any more, Keith?
Oh, I got a few more.
Oh, go, keep going. Have a bag. Yeah, go on, just some more. Very good. Have another go.
Oh, now a rooster.
In talent shows, performers really throw themselves into it and sometimes out of it.
Love. Still don't believe it.
Incidentally, the fault was not in your set, it was in hers. And wonderful seeing Ita in one of her earlier appearances. You saw also, too, of course, from radio's amateur hour and television's new faces on camera, Terry Deer, who's one of our very special guests here this evening. Welcome, Terry. You've got to realise, for somebody like myself who's been lucky enough to work in television for most of the years we've been here, but to even be able to work in front of a man like Terry Deer, it's a very special thrill. I'd also like to welcome another very famous TV name of the 50s and 60s who did so much for new talent, Desmond Tester. Desmond's here. That's Desmond with the beard. Desmond is part of probably the most memorable and historic clip that we'll see tonight. We unearthed this for the show especially. Many years ago, Desmond introduced on his Sydney program, Strictly for Moderns, 3 boys who travelled from Brisbane to appear on his show. Now, this would have to be the earliest recorded performance of the Australian group that is now one of the hottest musical groups in the world.
Here are some of the boys I'm looking for. Lee Henderson told me earlier they were down here in the audience. The Bee Gees, Barry A., the leader of the group, come here. Barry Gibb and your young brothers. Now, come on, who are you? Which is which? You're twins, eh?
I'm Robin.
Robin?
Morris.
And Morris. Now, you all sing together, eh?
That's right.
And your brother Barry plays. Now, come on up here. That's right. On up through there. Put you right in the picture, put you right in the room. You're going to stand up on the high level? That's the thing. Now, is it true that you write your own pieces, Barry?
It's true, Desmond.
And what are you going to play for us now you've come down from Brisbane?
Time is passing by.
All right, then, we'll hear you all together.
You see there, Jeff Brooks, one of the original judges on New Faces. From the various talent shows over the years, we've seen many new talents emerge. This is one of the special excitements I get from comparing new faces, as did Frank Wilson for so many years. One of my special memories was presenting on that show a new face, a new performer who was to become a national TV star, a man who really was a product of the Australian television industry. if anybody says Aussies can't do it, there's been proof then that they can. And here's the man behind all those faces, the voices and characters, Paul Hogan.
Evening, viewers. When television first began in this country, it was widely condemned by scholars as a purveyor of meaningless trivia, chewing gum for the mind. They warned that it would dull our brains and would spawn a whole horde of dull, unimaginative thickheads. Well, they weren't too far wrong, were they? No, of course they are wrong, because television proved to be a great boon. For starters, it was a tremendous labour-saving device, because people no longer had to talk to each other, set the table, or play snakes and ladders. It provided a much-needed source of entertainment for the bedridden, the retarded, and anyone that had habits that made people not want to sit next to them at the movies. It gave us a few peculiar habits of our own, too. As sitting here tonight during dinner, I noticed that by the time I got down to the main course, half the people in this room were eating off their laps. Television didn't dull our brains, it stimulated our curiosity. As throughout the nation we tossed and turned through sleepless nights, pondering the burning questions of television. Who shot JR? Will Gilligan ever get off the island? Will Simon Townsend ever finish a sentence without a moronic giggle? Will Molly Meldrum ever finish a sentence? Just think, where would we be without television? Television's educational. Television brought our politicians into the lounge room, where we could see for ourselves up close what a shifty lot they were. Present company accepted, of course. Pity, it's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? Shifty nifty. You keep turning up at these dues, mate, you're going to become a regular part of my act. Who's your mate? Billy Hayden. How are you, Bill? Missed out on the big job, eh? No, never mind. You'll have no trouble getting the dole, will you? Eh? Without television, just think for a minute. Here's a good thought. Without television, this function tonight would be called 67 Years of Radio. Without television, there'd be no TV week. No TV week. What a gaping hole in the world of literature that would leave. Just think, to never again read Star Dices with Death, Why Judy Lynn Wrestles with Funnel Web Spiders, Underwater. Next week, exclusive. Full-page colour photograph of Mike Moynihan, skydiving in the nude, with a duck in his mouth. Viewers, it's no use, I can't go on with these frivolities. Not while the whole country's in terrible danger. Someone's got to say it. Television is not a harmless toy. It is a powerful, evil force. And we're all in danger from it right now. That's right. Don't try and stop me. Peter Feynman's reaching for that switch, but if you turn me off, Feynman, you'll never see your parrot alive again. You see, viewers, the problem, the danger is that television goes through the air. As you know, not through the wires, love. Give yourself away. As you know, television is pumped out into the airwaves by the channels. And your antenna plucks it out of the air and translates it onto your screen. Now, because there are several million viewers out there, they pump out several million copies of every program. So if we all want to watch, say, 60 Minutes, everyone gets a good picture. Right? Works out pretty well. But what about the television duds? The turkeys that no one wants to watch. Making Time. Arcade. Half of the program's produced by John Collins. When they're pumping those turkeys out, they don't turn down the power, you know. They still pump out millions of copies of every show, even if it's Izzy Die in concert. Millions of copies of those turkeys being pumped out into the air, and only a handful of them being picked up by viewers. Have you ever thought, where do all those turkeys go? They don't just vanish, you know. Matter is perpetual. They're still out there now. And viewers, I know where they are. Just think for a minute, what is the most effective household device, common device for picking up a television picture? The best makeshift aerial. The wire coat hanger. At this very moment, in every home, in every wardrobe. Not too deep for you, is it? These little buggers are hanging there, trying to look innocent, while quietly and efficiently sucking from the airwaves countless thousands of hours of diabolical TV rubbish. And waiting, just waiting for that dark night when you open that wardrobe door. And 25 years of diabolical TV garbage will come flooding out. Viewers, wherever you're watching, it's not too late. I want you to get up out of your chairs. Go out to your wardrobes. Rip all these devilish hangers out and mangle them. Destroy them before they destroy you. That's all I can say. Save yourselves, for it's too late.
Hogan. We're back with you soon. Performer who was always, dare I say, finger clicking good, Happy Hammond.
You can't go wrong if you sing a song. It's a happy day. You can't go wrong if you sing a song. It's a happy day.
Happy Hammond. Children's programs also had educational health segments for the youngsters. For example, the TV dentist.
Let's see what this does for Von when we put it in her mouth. Would you open up, darling? That's the girl. And there's Von's plate in. Would you close together? That's it. Now, you begin to see when she brings her lips lightly together that this very ugly fold, which was developing from her bite collapsing, is now beginning to come out of her face. If we didn't do this, when she got older, she would have very ugly folds here and here, which would make her look much older than she normally is.
Have I mentioned to you that lady's teeth now are absolutely perfect, and she has a dreadful complex about what TV dentists told her? Safety was always a key area in advising children, like this episode of a program on water safety, presented by Bruce Menzies.
Ampol, marketers of a complete range of petroleum products, presents the Ampol Junior Car Club, direct from Ampol Park.
Something not supposed to happen. Gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to the Ampol Junior Car Club, direct from Ampol.
Welcome, Bruce. Now, here's a real favourite. Do you recall Bozo the Clown? He was always good for a laugh.
On you as possible when I finish blowing the whistle the second time. Are you ready to play the game? All right, here we go. And look at the balloons. There they are, floating in the air with the greatest of ease. Let's give a hand for the balloons. Oh, here comes some. There are the balloons, wonderful balloons. Yes, they're floating all over the place. Get them into the center ring, fellas. Will you do that? Let's get them all into the center ring. And out come the balloons.
Bozo couldn't be with us this evening. He is now very happily ensconced in his new job as a bus driver in Michigan. You know, many of today's celebrities emerged from the children's show area of television. Some, even more fortunate, went on to marry their early idols in the industry. As the idols soared to even greater heights, the luckiest, of course, was one lady who wed a man who today is one of the industry's immortals. Then came the influence of the Bee Gees. Then came my influence. They look so happy together. You know, the world of children's programs was essentially one of make-believe, warmth, and living happily ever after. Apart from Happy Hammond and Desmond Tester, there were Joffa Boy, Penny Spence, King Corky, Ian Fairweather, Rod Hull, Skeeter, and many others. The children who laughed at them are more than likely watching with their children tonight. And their great traditions are followed today by performers who work to a whole new generation. In a changed world, children still search for their heroes. And to pay tribute to these heroes, here is one of today's heroes, Darryl Summers.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. Now, if you want to view a paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. You want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life that I know to compare with pure imagination.
simply look around and do it. Anything you want to, just do it. You want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life that I know to compare with pure imagination living there. You'll be free if you truly want to be. Imagination.
If they didn't win you over for the various products they were selling, I now want you to know there was somebody who came from radio to television, another recruit from radio to television, who actually waged a public campaign against TV, and he now works in TV.
Television visits the frantic world of radio, broadcasting station 2SM Clarence Street, home of the Nine Good Guys. Brightness, sincerity, happiness. That's what they're looking for in prospective good guys, according to station executive Bill Stevenson. The most celebrated of all, well, that's what he says anyway, Mike Walsh.
It's very well known that Mike, of course, originally set out to be a chemist. And to television, he's brought a very special kind of chemistry. 21 years in the business, tomorrow he launches a new year of the show. And his show has rewritten the record books. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Walsh. You don't know, but this is going to be a mini This Is Your Life.
Oh, blimey, I'm going now while I'm ahead. You know, I dodged that program. They said, I found out once through my research team, they're going to do a This Is Your Life, and I know through friends of mine who've done the program, a lot of people you don't like come out and you think, God, I wish they weren't here. Right? Yeah. So I've dodged it.
Well, you haven't tonight. I want to see now how you react to Mike Walsh's radio style, a much younger and obviously using something from his pharmaceutical days.
Oh, really?
Past 8 at the time on Sydney's second worst disc jockey show. Hey, have you heard Haldeman's early morning breaking show when he gets you to rise and shine, you know, with a real fanfare like a kazoo sound? That's at about 6 o'clock in the morning he starts off, and he has such a beaut show for 3 hours, I'd hate you to miss any of it. So if you're a little bit tired at the moment and you're a bit afraid about getting up in time for the start of it, how about turning off your radio and going to bed?
Just what I'm going to do now.
You were working much slower those days, Mike.
Yeah, I saw a cutaway shot of John Law's reaction there. Don't worry, Laws, you're safe.
You might realise, of course, that in Melbourne, Mike was a pioneer of morning television.
A bit like now.
Yeah, yes, well, you're about to start, actually, as executive producer of a new one here in Sydney.
That's right. Yes, we start in a couple of months' time, and I'm looking forward to that very much, because I had a very happy period then.
Yeah, but that's very unimportant at this moment, because we want to roll back the years and see Mike as he was on the Today program called Today in Melbourne.
Your day begins with Today. GTV9 presents a revolutionary new concept in Australian television. 4 complete half-hour updated news editions presented live by Mike Walsh. Today is continuous television news designed and presented for our community as it prepares for the new day. Set an extra place at your breakfast table for Today, every Monday to Saturday with Mike Walsh on Channel 9.
Direct by satellite, the Indianapolis 500 will bring you highlights in this edition of Today. But first of all, hello and good morning. Well, I hope you're feeling fit this morning, because we're all feeling tremendously fit. Well, if you're going to lie, you should tell big ones, they always say. Look, I've got a green apple this morning.
Yeah.
Well, there's one newsreader I won't get, that's for sure.
Magnificent lines, even back in those years. You know, you always surround yourself with great people, Mike, and way back in the old days, you surrounded yourself with a couple of people who would be called then, of the 60s, I guess, the Jeannie Little and the Dr. Wright of the 60s. Really?
Go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's go fly a kite and then it's soaring up through the atmosphere, up where the air is clear. kite.
One of the things which I've always been very jealous of, Mike...
Can I go now?
No, not at all. If I've got a supper, why shouldn't you be standing beside me? There's one thing you've got that Don hasn't got, Graham hasn't got, and I haven't got, and that is that you really are a trained ballerina. I'd like you to see this. Right, okay. Continuing with This Is Your Life, capsule style, people like Don Lane, Graham, and myself are always attached to various females over the years, but you've kept a very low profile. Graham, of course, was engaged to Lana Cantrell for 3 minutes. Of course, Don Lane to the rest of Australia for quite a few years. But no one knows of any girl in your life, but I have...
No, I've kept my birds.
Something... Yes.
Yes.
I've got you with your bird.
Oh, no, not really.
Would you thank Debbie and her friends for joining us today? Cup of tea, cup of tea, cup of tea. Bottle of beer, cup of tea, cup of tea. Right, we'll take, I might keep him around in case the rest of the show's pretty dull. Now, second thoughts. All right, we'll be back in a moment. We're going to meet our things. Hey, you're not paid to editorialise. We will take a break, and then we're back to meet some celebrity playboys.
Well done, Mike. Okay. We've had the fun. After so many successful years in television, what does the industry mean to you, Mike?
Well, it's 21 years this year, which isn't up to your mileage, but it means a great deal. Just being serious for a moment, it's meant a lot of work and being sacked twice. It's also meant an opportunity to work with a lot of people. It's given me a lot. It's given me the money to do all the things I wanted to do, get involved in other areas of the business, and also to enter the 9th year of the Mike Walsh Show, and I'm delighted, and thank you for your support. And I think everyone here, there's one point I'll make while I'm on a soapbox. I can't do a hoax, because he's the best politician I've ever seen, but I think we all feel very proud, if you cast our minds back, those of our generation, to when we started out. There was nowhere in this country where you could actually make an impact. Radio's big days are gone, but when television came along, you could do your thing in Australia, as they said in those days, and you didn't have to go overseas. And I hope we've all contributed something to Australia, being a little more of an identity, and also I think if you look at the film industry, it couldn't have happened without television and some of the embarrassing moments we all went through to train production crews and also the actors and actresses who've made the industries what they are today. That's what it means.
Mike, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, right across Australia, it starts again for you. Your 1981 season, and everybody here in the room and everybody watching this evening says, do it again.
Thanks, Bert.
Good luck to you. Mike Walsh. We're back with you soon. We're celebrating 25 years of Australian television.
3 men in Geelong saw a need. They knew that they could help by their actions and by their deeds. So from that humble beginning, a name was struck with pride, working for the community, working side by side. Apex, working for Australia. Apex, for half a century. Apex.
Apex is behind many great ideas.
We help to get them started, and we help to keep them going. If you're over 18, join Apex, because together there's nothing we can't do. Apex gets things done.
And they'll still be there when you need them for another 50 years.
Now in every Western street,
Comedy, drama, family shows, adventure shows, cartoons, detective shows, they're all part of the TV mix. And while tonight we're having essentially a look at the Australian television series, of course here in Australia we've seen so much from overseas. Let's recall now some of the very early shows from over there.
I Love Lucy, starring Lucille Ball and Bessie Arnett. Here's Ozzie. Here's Harriet. Here's David. And here's Ricky. Here they are, America's favorite family, the Nelsons.
Keep moving, moving, moving. Oh, they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving right.
Whoever said a dog is man's best friend sure knew what he was talking about.
Casey Jones, steaming and rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear the tooting of the whistle, it's Casey at the throttle of the cannonball.
Anthony Isley.
Hawaiian
Robert Conrad. And Connie Stevens. With Hunty Bunch. Starring Troy Donahue.
Surfside 6.
Van Williams.
Surfside 6.
Lee Patterson.
In Miami Beach.
I don't care what is said in their publicity handouts. I didn't see Don Lane or Tommy Hanlon in any of those American programs. Incidentally, for Brisbane viewers, that's your brand new season coming up for you this year. Another major TV ingredient, of course, always is sport, both local and overseas. But there have been times when making the right connection hasn't always been easy.
Fine weather for the fight. We've already spoken with Jack Rennie, the manager of the champion, and now on a line to London, we're talking to Mrs. Ellen Rudkin. Hello, Mrs. Rudkin. How are you?
I beg your pardon?
Can you hear us? We're talking to you from Melbourne, Australia. Mrs. Rudkin.
Yes. I'm Mrs. Rudkin.
Well, it's 10 o'clock at night there. That's the time situation, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
We're calling you from a television studio which already has a program in presentation. It's the morning of the fight in Melbourne, and we're wondering if you have had any contact in the last 24 hours with your husband.
I'm afraid I'm not Mrs. Alan Rudkin. I'm Mrs. A.E. Rudkin. I'm afraid.
Well,
you know, it's not often that people can be contacted from the other side of the world early in the morning. So you're no relation to the Empire boxing champion who fights in Melbourne tonight.
No, what a pity, isn't it?
Sportscaster Maury Kirby was always noted for vigorous, straight-from-the-shoulder sports editorials. He used to slam home the viewers these every night of the week. What people didn't know was that Maury used to read all the punchy, high-powered reports from cue cards, sometimes called, unkindly, I believe, idiot sheets, with everything written on them and held by someone just off camera. Well, what Maury didn't know one night was that someone changed the words on the cards, inserting a few choice phrases that would have had Maury and the station off the air.
People who read the newspaper report early this week could be excused for believing that Melbourne would soon have the first indoor running track in the Southern Hemisphere. The venue is supposed to be Olympic Park swimming pool, but, and I make no apology for it, at the present time there is as much chance of the V3As building a running track there as the Homing Pigeons Association have of taking... Oh, I turn it up. Who the bloody hell did that?
The Homing Pigeon Association took the advice and have not been heard from since. You know, sports always played a very important role in TV. It was one of the reasons that the Channel 9 got to air so quickly in Melbourne in 1956 in order to bring viewers the Olympic Games held that year in Melbourne. Never before an Olympic Games had been seen so comprehensively by television. Melbourne viewers of Channel 9 saw these scenes as they happened at the MCG. Viewers in Sydney saw only film shot in Melbourne and then flown in for TV screening later that night or the next day. And then still to come were direct interstate links with coverage of sports such as cricket and football in other states, satellite links that brought us tennis direct from Forest Hills, or the Olympics from faraway Moscow. It was on the 9th of January 1959 that Channel 9 provided Sydney viewers with Australia's first live interstate telecast, an amazing direct 4-day coverage of the third cricket test between Australia and England at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It was called Operation Kangaroo, because the picture was relayed through a series of temporarily installed mountaintop transmission points. It went hoppity-hop more than 500 miles to Sydney. Good evening and welcome to the program. Another very daring experiment, apart from what I've just done then, has Peter Payman left us for some... I want you to go back to 1963. Melbourne and Adelaide were linked, this time by relay. It was equipment carried in a circling aircraft flown by Clyde Packer near the Victoria-South Australian border. But let Tony Charlton again tell us, as he was telling us then.
Continually within a 2 miles radius at a precise altitude of 12,000 feet. The crew and the technicians are working off oxygen. The picture might fade now and again, but we are hopeful of a picture with clear definition. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to GTV for a first-time ever occasion for television, the linking of Adelaide and Melbourne on January the 25th, 1963.
Yes. In 25 years from now, they'll be playing my hosting bit. You know, seriously, those fuzzy pictures are a very far cry from what we can do today. Yes. The clean, long-distance coverage we can see today on television, you know, it's worth noting it was the sport element of television that pushed most of these developments through. On special events, we lost a bit of ground. They were just some of the thrills of getting you a TV sports coverage. What are the thrills over the years of the sports events themselves? Well, here are a couple of sports events in themselves. From Sydney, Ron Casey. From Melbourne, Arthur Higgins.
Well, without doubt, sport and TV has been the perfect marriage, and it's fair to say after 25 years of TV, you've seen it all.
From Mexico, Montreal and Moscow, watching TV has brought us the champions, the drama, and all that goes with those great events. We saw Dawn Fraser dominate swimming in 3 successive Olympiads with gold medals in the 100 metres freestyle. Dawn doing it her way before they even wrote the song.
Do it again in 60 and 64. With a time of 1 minute, 1 2/10 of a second, Dawn Fraser equals the world record. She leaves Rome with a gold medal.
And her Belliot in Rome, striding away from the field in the 1500 metres track, setting a standard in middle distance running that has revolutionised the sport.
Elliott covers the distance in 3 minutes, 35 seconds and 6/10. A new world and Olympic record.
But of all the champions, who'll ever forget the tiny 14-year-old girl coupling grace and perfection? Nadia Comaneci has to be included as one of the all-time greats, even though she was just a child when she won a gold medal.
Towards the end of her act, and she must land perfectly and cleanly on the floor. And that was probably a perfect 2-point landing, and she's sure to get a...
Well, cricket's changed too. All the greats of the past were here in 1977 to see the centenary test at the MCG. It was the most ambitious commemoration ever attempted. It was run to celebrate 100 years of tests between 2 bitter rivals, England and Australia. The irony was Australia winning by 45 runs, exactly the same margin as the first test a century before.
Even then, no one was dreaming or even imagining that night cricket was on the way. 50,000 fans turned out to watch under the 6 huge light towers that surrounded the Sydney cricket ground. It was a new era of cricket, and perhaps one that the purists didn't exactly like. But it made the perfect marriage of sport and television.
Well, coming from Melbourne, there's just one thing I'd like to settle right now, Ron. Is it true that Sydney is going to adopt Australian rules?
Not quite, Arthur. Rugby league is still our #1 winter sport. My fondest memory of 25 years ever is the first drawn grand final in 1977 between St George and Parramatta. Parramatta was down 9-0 at half-time and struggled back to be 9-all at full time. With an extra 20 minutes of play, still no result.
Well, Australian rules has brought a quarter of a century of TV excitement too. Remember back in 1970, Carlton against Collingwood. They were down 44 points going into the second half. Jesselenko, with that number 25, played to new heights that day.
Forward for Carlton now. Here comes Jesselenko. Jesselenko, a left footer. There's nobody there. It's bounced through.
You know, Arthur, we're both very strong in remembering the good old days. How about the champions who've become bigger than their own sports? The ones that television made into personalities in their own right.
Well, Muhammad Ali is the greatest. He's got the most recognized face in the world. With 3 heavyweight championship wins, he's perhaps the most famous sportsman of this era or any era.
The tide turns the other way now.
Or take the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus, a string of wins in the US Open, the US Masters, and the way he's made it to Australia to win so many times here, with Channel 9's cameras catching every stroke.
Jack Nicklaus to close, but a margin of 4 shots over his nearest rival at 2 under par. The ball goes to the crowd. The laurels to Jack Nicklaus, 5 times winner now of the Australian Open Championship.
Bjorn Borg and his 5 straight wins at Wimbledon, placid, methodical, but instantly hailed all over the world.
Borg's done it.
Bjorn Borg. Listen to that ovation. And our own queen of Australian sport, Yvonne Cawley, a great champion who's won everybody's heart.
She's done it.
And speaking of plenty of heart, who was the greatest racehorse in the last 25 years? Gunsynd, maybe, but probably Tulloch. His win in the 1957 Caulfield Cup was a real champion's performance. Australia has always boasted champions in the world arena. Listen to this list of great names in tennis. Laver, Newcombe, Rosewall and Hode. In racing, Roy Higgins, George Moore, Darby Munro. In boxing, Johnny Famechon and Lionel Rose. In squash, Heather McKay and Jeff Hunt. In golf, Peter Thompson, 5 times winner of the British Open. Our Olympic swimmers, who've always brought home gold medals. In cricket, Richie Benaud, Ian and Greg Chappell and Dennis Lilly. In motor racing, Jack Brabham and Alan Jones. And of course, our yachting team. They brought the Admiral's Cup trophy home twice. The list is endless.
Of course, while we watch the champs in action, I should point out that television shows it warts and all. And sometimes the stars would very much like to be able to stop the cameras and play it again if they could.
Is still involved with his centre opponent. That up for you two now. And what a stout. What a stout. Oh.
German driver Manfred Winkelhock on the 4th lap, accelerating over a hump, found himself and his car airborne. Nobody gets out of crashes like this, but Manfred must have been doing something right.
I suppose the all-time TV loser was a competitor in the 400 metres track at Moscow. For years he'd trained for just this moment, this one event. This is what happened.
There he was, nearest the camera, settling down nicely for the start of his 400 metres hurdles heat. And events, well, sort of passed him by. Was that a starting pistol I heard? His expression said it all. 7,000 miles and 4 years training. This...
And I'm sure you will agree, unlike our friend at Moscow, TV and sport in Australia started fast, is still running strongly, and Channel 9 is proud to be a leader in the field.
We're back with you after this break, celebrating 25 years of Australian television. I really believe the next Logie Award should go to the waiters here at Centrepoint, trying to serve television people during one commercial break. Great effort. In 1957, when television was a still learning and still unsteady newcomer to Australia, the man who was to become one of its foremost stars here was already appearing on top-rating American TV. He was working under a slightly different name than the one we know by today. But here he is now, as he appeared 24 years ago, introduced by the famous Ed Sullivan on Ed Sullivan's American Coast to Coast Sunday night TV show.
Representing the
United States Army, Europe, in the headquarters of the 9th Infantry Division, champion for the 2nd year in a row, PFC, Don Isaacson.
Well, now, gee, but it's great after staying out late, walking my baby back home. Good evening. We'd like to say that oh, yeah, it's really a pleasure to be here. You see, because it's not very often that we, that we get the opportunity to work with such a wonderful group.
Quick, there's a message coming in on the wireless. Take this down, take this down. Okay, what does it say? What does it say?
And I'm a-walking my baby back home.
Yes, early vintage and very young Don Lane. In 1965, already a seasoned performer in cabaret and nightclubs throughout America, New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. He was brought to Australia to be signed to do his own Tonight Show here in Sydney at TCN. And a great new partnership was born, Don Lane and Sydney.
For the last time in 1967, from Sydney, it's The Tonight Show starring Don Lane, with Jeff Harvey and the Tonight Show Orchestra, and I'm Mike Walsh. But right now, here's the man to make the party swing. Here's Don!
Yeah. Now, that's a bit of memorabilia, you know. I didn't realize that Mike Walsh was the original announcer for Don Lane and Sydney. I eventually got the job because I'd wear drag. Don's enormous, on television too. Don's enormous success in Sydney matched Graham's stronghold in Melbourne. And once the coaxial cable was laid, if Melbourne and Sydney were brought closer, why not Don and Graham?
76 trombones hit the counterpoint, while 110 cornets blazed away. To the rhythm of hatch, 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 all the kids began to march, and they're marching still, marching still, marching still, right to
Incidentally, in its time, that piece of live TV was considered to be technically awe-inspiring. Who would have thought that years later, Graham would move to Sydney to pursue a very successful movie career, and the tall one would go down south. He came to Melbourne, he came, they saw, and he conquered. And then Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, Perth, and Hobart joined in to make Don Lane one of the most successful and highest-rating stars that Australian television has seen. It's a long way since 1965, his Sydney debut, to his 1981 appearance on stage this evening. But I, for one, am very pleased he made the trip. Here's Don.
Now you know what it feels like, right?
Let me say one thing.
Yes.
2 days in your place and 2 days in...
All right, fair enough. We'll do all that. As Graham said earlier, when we do television, of course, it's live, something that they don't really understand overseas. They wouldn't even attempt a live variety program. But because we would talk and we were variety and everything else, there was still a lot of drama attached with doing live television. As can be shown by this piece of tape we're going to show you now, Grant Page, one of Australia's leading stuntmen, came in as a guest on the program. And live, he was going to show us how you perform the being hit by the car stunt, where a fellow was driving. I was supposed to drive the car.
That's right, first up, yeah.
And at the last minute, management decided that I shouldn't drive, that it should be turned over to a professional, and how glad I was that they did, because the ensuing mishap that happened was probably one of the most dramatic moments that I have ever had to go through. Watch how coolly I handle this. But outside of the studios at GTV9,
Grant Page was all set to do his stunt, and this is what ensued. Okay, well, we'll have a look at this. Now, where are you going to be? You're going to stand right back here, and you're going to go back far enough that it's going to get you up to 60 in that distance to here. So when this car actually comes at you, it's going to be 60. Is that it? Okay. Okay, now he's back there. In that distance, he's going to come up to here, and he'll be doing 60 when he gets here. There's the flashing lights. Ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Anytime you are, I'm okay. Already splashed the lights, and here we go. Whoa. Oh, gee. Hey, is he all right? What happened here? Hang on. I haven't got enough wire. Come here. Huh? An ambulance. Is he not all right? Oh, jeepers. Is he really hurt? Huh? Oh, my goodness. Oh, leave him. Leave him. Leave him. Leave him. Leave him. Leave him. Oh, his face is okay. I'm not. Get it away. It's all right. Oh, he's in shock. All right. Yeah. Listen, just leave him there. We'll get an ambulance. It'll be all right. He's coming around. He's coming around. Yeah.
You recall, Don?
18, oh my goodnesses, we were there at once.
We went then back to studio, and it was Di Horder who sang Happy Days Are Here Again.
That's right. And Grant Page came back in and did an interview, which he had to come back and look at 2 days later because he didn't remember doing the interview.
Exactly.
That was true. But while we're talking about all of this, of course, we would all be remiss, I suppose, if we didn't talk about the big fella here, the greatest special event man that has ever been created in Australia, and probably the world's greatest ad-libber as well. But over the years...
You shouldn't have. You shouldn't have.
I'd have got killed if I didn't.
Right.
Over the years, of course, Bert, in his own subtle and suave way, has attacked comedy and made it work for him. And, of course, Molly Meldrum would be shaking in his boots today if he had seen this performance by someone who knew music inside out. One of the hippest to ever handle a music program.
Thank you. I know exactly what you're going to show. Thank you very much indeed, Morton. Hi, fellow Hi-Fi. Welcome once again to the Hi-Fi Club. It's nice to have you with us.
I like the boy.
Did you say Roy or Boy?
I like the boy. Is something wrong with saying that?
Roy.
Yeah. Hey, hang on. No, wait. I'll change religion. I'll do anything for you. I don't care. Michael, we're pretty thrilled. This is the very first time that a guest star for the Logies has come back the second time. And definitely you're quite thrilled to come back for us. Yeah. Do we have to do any more of those? No. You wouldn't know Vic Morrow at all, would you?
I really didn't know that this was going to happen. And I have an affliction. It's called emotion. And oh shit!
Congratulations, Mike. You have a child?
But that...
Out of wedlock?
Right, yes, quite.
Is he still living?
He's 27 years old now.
And obviously, he would have to be for the plot of homosexual, is he?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, is he?
Yes.
I know you travel around a lot. This is a phone, a telephone.
Yeah.
You pick it up.
Yeah.
And you say hello.
What do I say?
Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, right. The bloke behind the counter says, you like cold chicken? And the geezer says, yeah. And he says, the bloke behind the counter says, come back tomorrow because they're hot now. He said.
I don't want to make a pool table, don't you understand? A pool table.
Yeah, sure.
Either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you're unaware of the caliber of disaster
Kerry, he's not
indicated
well.
by the presence of a pool table in your community.
Fine, mate.
Well,
Lovely.
you got trouble, my friend.
Eh?
Right here, take trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a billiard player. Certainly mighty proud to say it, boys, mighty proud to say it. I consider that the hours I spend with a cue in my hand are golden. Must be cultivate horse sense and a cool head and a keen eye. Did you ever take a try and grab an ironclad lead for yourself from a three-rail billiard shot? But just as I say, it takes judgment, brains, and maturity to score in a ball-flying game. I say that any boo can take and shove a ball in a pocket. And I call that slope. The first big step on the road to the depths of day. Good day, I say first. Medicinal wine from a teaspoon, then beer from a bottle. And the next thing you know, your son is playing for money in a pinchback suit. And listening to some big out-of-town Jasper, hearing him tell about horse race gambling. Not a wholesome trot race, no, but a race where they sit down right on a horse. Like to see some stuck-up jockey boys sitting on day and patch, make the blood boil, well, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what I mean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets in the table. Pockets that mark the difference between a gentleman and a bum with a capital P, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. And all week long, your River City youth will be frittering away. I say your young men will be frittering. Frittering away at noontime, summertime, short time, too. Get the ball in the pocket. Never mind getting dandelions pulled or the screen door patch or the beefsteak pounded. Never mind pumping any water till your parents are caught with the cistern empty on a Saturday night, and that's trouble. You got lots and lots of trouble. I'm talking of the kids in the knickerbocker, serve-tailed young ones, peeking in the pool hall window at the school, and that's trouble. Folks right here in River City. Trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. Now, I know all you folks are the right kind of parents. I'm going to be perfectly frank. Would you like to know what kind of conversation goes on while they're loafing around that hole? They'll be trying out people, trying out cubebs, trying out tailor-mades like cigarette thieves, and bragging all about how they're going to cover up a telltale dress with lollies. One fine night, they leave the pool hall, heading for the dance of the army, libertine men and scarlet women in ragtime. Shameless music will grab your son, your daughter in the arms of the jungle, animal instinct, mad stereo train. The idle brain is a devil's playground. Trouble.
Oh, you got trouble.
Right here in River City.
Right here in River City.
With a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. We surely got trouble. Right here in River City. Got to figure out a way to keep the young ones moral after school. Mothers of River City, heed that warning before it's too late. Watch for the telltale signs of corruption. The minute your son leaves the house, does he rebuckle his knickerbockers below the knee? Is there a nicotine stain on his index finger? When he watches Mike Walsh, is it only to see John Michael Hauser? Are certain words creeping into his conversation? Words like swell, and so's your old man, and spunky, and shut up in your face. Well, if so, my friends, right here in River City, with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. Come on, we surely got trouble. Right here in River City. Remember the names of Plymouth Rock and the Golden Rule. Where is trouble? Where is trouble? The 15 numbered balls in the devil's pool. Oh, yes, we got trouble, trouble, trouble. I said trouble, trouble, trouble with a capital T. That rhymes with P. That stands for P-O-O-L, pool. Oh, yeah.
artists in the way that best highlight their work and their talents. The immortal Satchmo. The young Beatles. Our own legend, Johnny O'Keefe. The much acclaimed Peter Feynman produced Neil Diamond concert. The Glenn Campbell special, which was sold to America.
In '61, this daring youth commenced his wild career.
The incomparable Liberace. Australia discovers ABBA. We went to New York to bring you the All-Australian UNICEF concert. And who will ever forget last year when Her Majesty the Queen was guest of honour as Australian artists, as special guests by Neville Wran, the Premier of New South Wales, came from around the world, combined for a night that I believe this country will long remember. We're close to the end of this evening's program. At the Channel 7 table. At the beginning of tonight's show, I spoke of a reunion that was taking place here at Centrepoint. In some cases, you know, there are people seeing each other tonight for the first time in many years. There are men and women in the audience who pioneered the medium of television. Some are no longer in it, but they're still very much an important part of it. All have been part of Channel 9's history, and we salute them. There have been many changes over the years, some subtle, some not. But you see, times change, people change, and Australia has changed. A vital link throughout the last 25 years has been what you're watching this evening, television. But not only did television observe and report these changes, because of the very nature of the medium, it instigated many of them. It was a new way of life. You didn't have to wait to have us delivered to your door by your newsboy, or see us as a lead-up to the main feature at your local picture theatre, or sit beside a mantle radio and wonder what we really looked like. We were there with you. And for 25 years, you've been with us. You've supported us in the good times and the bad. Tonight was one of the good times, because today we saw yesterday, and we lived it all over again. And I hope for you, as it was for me, just as nice the second time around. Good night.